Good afternoon. My name is Jim Conlan and welcome to the latest episode of our entertainment show. As we know, we've been excitedly building up for the last 2 or 3 weeks about the excitement about debuting season 2 of our Stargate cult classic sci-fi documentary. Back to popular demand, our audience loved season 1, all 38 episodes of it. Such was the demand for more that we decided to come back with a season 2, and season 2 is off to a bang so far. I'm delighted to say we have another all-star guest on our show this evening. It's the one and only Michael Adamthwaithe, who played the role of Herak, first prime to Anubis in Stargate SG1. He appeared in 5 episodes in total in season 6 and season 7. His episodes were Lost City, Homecoming, Fallen, The Full Circle, and The Other Guys. And Michael, first of all, I suppose as an actor based in British Columbia, you came into Stargate in season 6 and 7. Already a cult show, already a massive following. It took off after season 2 or season 3. Did you maybe try out for roles in previous seasons in terms of the show? Had you tried out for characters maybe in season 2 or season 3 for the role? When it came about the character of Herak, was this your first time delving into that Stargate universe, or had you been out there before in terms of trying out for other characters?
Well, in response to that, first and foremost, I'm delighted to be on the show. Thank you so much for having me, Jim. Good morning and good evening to everybody from Maple Ridge, BC. As for Stargate, it was, at the time when I was working as an actor, it was very early days for me, and there were lots of auditions, but sort of no show was bigger at that time than like if you get on Stargate, things are going your way. Like it's a really huge opportunity as a Vancouver actor. So for me, getting on that show was amazing. But leading up to booking the role of Herak, which was a lot of fun, by the way. I had a great time with that. There were only a handful of auditions, and they were for Jaffa, or they were for, military types. And I remember there being an audition for a character that was very much off-world from a very tribal people. But no, I didn't book anything leading up to that because, of course, I think I was meant to sort of step into the role that I ended up booking, which was Herak, which was lovely. What a scoundrel.
And the character Herak, when you saw what the directors and producers had written for him on the page in terms of the script, what instantly came to you in terms of your mind? How did you sort of picture him or vision him, how you wanted to portray him or bring him to life? Did you reference him on any character that you've seen on any TV series or film before in terms of what you wanted to do with him?
Well, we had a pretty clear vision on the page. I mean, such amazing, as we all know, amazing writing on Stargate. So the vision was pretty clear. I was working with Martin Wood, who was, the director for most of my episodes, not all, but most. And Martin just had this really clear idea. And of course, there was lots of, workings and collaborative opinions about how the comedy should work and how the energy between, Herak and O'Neill should be this sort of strangely, like antagonistic, but also kind of funny back and forth. And it was always sort of established that he was by the letter, by the book, loyal to his people and on the hunt for anyone who had anything to do with humans. I think he considered himself the eradicator. So that character became very clear, very militant, and the framework became not restrictive at all, so much as well framed. And I was like, no, he would do this, and getting to know my character became really easy. But there were some times that it was kind of hard to stay that stoic heavy, because here I am standing across from Richard Dean Anderson, who was funny all the time, like, camera on, camera off. Richard was always cutting up and making jokes and making fun of Herak, repeating lines and just sort of catching me off guard. Yeah, it was a great character. It was a lot of fun.
And Michael, in terms of wardrobe for you, obviously, the whole sort of Jaffa sort of gear, I mean, first of all, what you were wearing, was it quite heavy? Was it quite sort of, in terms of rigid and structure, was it comfortable? And had you to be in early hours in terms, was it an ordeal basically putting on the outfit to begin with, or in terms of what was, or was it light or silk, or was it more heavy or thin?
Well, first and foremost, I want to acknowledge all the hardworking people in the props, costume, makeup department for all of their diligent work. We have amazing crews here in Vancouver in the Lower Mainland, hundreds and hundreds of years of combined experience, and you know, just the top-rated people in the world, I think. And they made some really delicate pieces look strong, and they made really strong pieces that were light and that were breathable and movable, but they also took such good care of us, keeping us cool, keeping us comfortable, keeping us in the shade. There were the bald cap pieces of armor that were quite form-fitting, as they had to be, as you imagine, for the look and feel. There was always the symbol, which was a very simple application because they knew their craft well. They made everything in advance. It was beautifully colored and shaped and ready to go. So the applications themselves were not that difficult, but I will say, putting on the gauntlet is always dangerous for anyone standing on the other side of your arm, because if you put that sucker on too hard, you're gonna punch somebody. So yeah, it was an ordeal. It was really fun, but the armor gave you a certain something. There was a feeling, there was an energy that the armor, yeah. Well, I wouldn't even use that word so much, just like a fortification. You are armored, you are ready to take hits. And I mean, you know, there were so many wonderful, you know, characters portrayed in this armor. And I think everyone felt that kind of fortification, that power. It was inherently a cool part of the costume. Yeah, made it easy to stay in character.
And most of your sort of shoots were done, I say, in maybe the lots, in terms of different sort of studios that changed rapidly in terms of that, so that had to be put together. It wasn't obviously the main Stargate sort of room, or wasn't that so also? But did you do any offshoot block location, or was all done in this makeshift sort of loft that was converted for most of your scenes?
Well, we have a lot of wonderful locations, exterior and interior, in British Columbia. As a film world, we have access to virtually every type of exterior you could hope for. And of course, the studio lots are everywhere. I assume it's probably thousands of acres worth of indoor studios in the Lower Mainland. But having so much beautiful you know, landscape, trees and mountains. We also have large, you know, rockeries that are sort of, you know, old quarries left over from days when, you know, things were brought out of the area. So there was a lot of potential for setting up an alien landscape or setting up a forested combat scene. Like, there was a lot of really fun things shooting out in an area we kind of refer to as the GVRD, which I believe stands for the Greater Vancouver Regional District. It's a strange acronym, but you're just going out into the woods where there's no cell service, and you're going to play pretend with all your friends. And it's always fun to be outside in the woods. But we had some wonderful you know, indoor sets as well, some ships, as well as control rooms and, you know, meeting rooms. And, you know, there was catacombs and warehouses and all sorts of really, really fun, you know, places. So again, I tip my hat to all the wonderful set decorators and set builders and people who painted, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of man hours. Yeah, it is incredible to see at the end of the day what dedicated people can do. That caliber of work, it always blew my mind to see what they built for us.
And Michael, in terms of Stargate, once obviously you appeared in the amount of episodes, you appeared in 5 in total. Did it obviously have that on your credits, on your resume? Did it open up many doors and opportunities for you going forward?
Oh, absolutely. I think that you know, so many actors, you know, living in Vancouver and the greater Vancouver area would agree that a show like Stargate propels you because it gives you that that exposure. The Stargate community, the Stargate family is worldwide. They are wonderfully diverse and wonderfully, I think, passionate about the same thing. It's a universe of possibilities, and that's why everyone loves the show. So there are fans from all over the world who've contacted me over the years to say how much my character, impacted them, or they really enjoyed Herak, or they sort of love to hate him. It sort of comes from all angles. But yeah, I would definitely say that the show propelled my career. It's sort of one of those credits that gets a lot of notice. Yeah.
And Michael Adamthwaithe, in terms of Stargate, have you any sort of story or particular moment that is special to you that only you know from your time on Stargate, whether it's interacting with cast members, maybe a funny moment or something in between scenes that is unique to you, that you might enlighten to us or share with us now in terms of the Stargate audience and fan base listening in?
Oh, yes, I have a doozy, friends and family. Check this out. So in the earliest days of my work with Richard, with this character, with, Herak, there's this wonderful scene, I'm sure you remember, where I am electrocuting O'Neill with this cattle prod like baton. Well, behind the scenes, what nobody else knew is that I was shown how to hold it appropriately for the visual effects department and the prop department to be happy. They were like, make sure to make contact here and do this, et cetera, et cetera. So I was holding it in such a way that the prongs were sort of pointing down instead of pointing up. So I was acting and I was zapping, and Richard recoiled forward, and we sort of came together at a point, and the prongs, which were, I later learned, meant to be up, were down, and he sort of stabbed himself on the prongs, and I had stabbed him. And in the middle of the scene, he's rolling around on the floor, and I'm like, look at him acting. That's so great. We're acting together. This is awesome. And he's like, oh God, he stabbed me. Cut the camera. Oh, he stabbed me. And he's rolling around, and my heart stops beating. All the blood must have rushed from my face, and I was just sort of like shaking and aghast. And of course, Martin's like, cut. And Martin Wood runs in. He's like, Michael, what did you do? And I'm like losing my mind. And of course, my inner dialogue is very simple. It's like, you're going to get fired. This is where you get fired. This is how you get fired. This is now the story of you getting fired. And of course, Martin rushes in and he checks on Richard, and Richard's fine. And he gets up. He's like, takes a moment, walks away. And he's like, Michael, what did you do? And I was like, I was just holding it. I was holding it. Kenny said to hold it like this. He's like, Kenny. And Kenny comes running in, our, fabulous, props master. And he was like, Kenny, you did a bad thing. You showed the actor the wrong thing. He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, Kenny, you're fired. But that was a joke. Kenny was not fired, to be clear. Kenny was not fired. So yeah, here I am thinking, oh God, I stabbed Richard Dean Anderson. My career is over. Everyone's going to hear that I'm this violent actor and I hurt somebody. And so I go outside to get some air. And about 5 minutes later, I turn around and Richard is standing there, kind of like has finished approaching me. And he's like, you know what I think is funny? And of course, I immediately just sort of, what's funny? I have no idea what to say. I think the next thing he's going to say is, it's funny because you're fired, right? Like, that's what I think is coming. He's like, I think it's funny that the more O'Neill stays funny with you, the more angry Herak gets about O'Neill being calm and collected and funny. And I'm like, yes, that is funny. Yes. Like, please don't fire me. I didn't say that, but I was thinking it. And he was like, okay, great, cool. Yeah, I just wanted you to talk about that because that's funny. That's really working. So you stay straight, man, and I'll be the funny man. And I was like, yes, great. We will do that. And then he sort of walked away and went back into the studio, gave me a smile and a thumbs up, and sort of let me have another minute to myself. I think he understood that had collectively been a lot of stress in a very few 10 or 15 minutes for me as a young actor starting out in my first big episode. So yeah, it was kind of fun, but also almost heart attack at the same time.
And Michael, while we have you now, Michael Adamthwaithe, for the last 30 seconds, I'm going to put something to you that I put to every other actor and actress that has appeared in this documentary so far. It's the one sort of question. It's the one that sort of no one sort of has, you have to think about for or rack your brain. Let's pretend they put the character Herak in a Stargate encyclopedia, sort of the dictionary as sort of such. And under his name, they left 2 blank sentences, a synopsis in terms of what their characters was about, not an epitaph as such. But the talent agent, they got onto your talent agent who got onto you and said, listen, we want Michael Adamthwaithe to write those 2 sentences to describe Herak. If he was coming against him, coming down the street, and you said, someone asked you to describe that guy, what would you like those 2 sentences to read?
That indeed is a question worth a moment or two of pondering. But I would say at the end of it, I would say, here goes the biggest, baddest, most cut up dog the universe has ever seen. And he's looking for a bad, bad master.
Bad master. And as we know, Michael Adamthwaithe, that master was one of the baddest of them all in the news. Michael Adamthwaithe, thanks for sharing your memories with us today. You appeared in 5 episodes in season 6 and season 7 of Stargate SG1 in Lost City, Homecoming, Fallen, the Full Circle, the other guys. You will always go down in the Stargate folklore for your appearances of Herak. And who knows, with a new sort of series and movie ushered to be on the way in the near future, there might be a reprisal of that role. So Herak might rise again, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
But for the moment, Michael Adamthwaithe, thanks for sharing your time with us.
Thank you so much.
Take care, and God bless you, sir.
Take care. Thank you, Jim. Thanks, everybody.